this last year, I was focusing on some work in anti-bullying, and I became aware that the social-emotional skills that we're teaching kids in schools are the same things as the skills taught in emotional intelligence, and are ironically the same skills that people need for having higher levels of resiliency and better mental health. Self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making skills, and empathy. These are all common across all these areas. And when you look at what traumatic experiences do, they impair every single one of these. If I'm stuck, like we used to say, a deer in the headlights, I may not even feel my body. I can't be self-aware. And if I can't feel my body, I may miss the person to my right because I'm, again, too busy focusing on that selective attentional process on what's happening to me right now. That's why sometimes, if you're ever even in a minor fender bender, somebody sneaks up on you and bumps you in the rear at a stoplight, you may feel like, what just happened? Where did time go? What did I miss? You may also find yourself snappy and sharp at the person that's your passenger. Again, that's pretty normal. You may find yourself not quite sure what to do next. There's that relationship process and the responsible decision making. And you may find yourself unable to have any real strong empathy for the person whose car bumped you because you're too busy being angry. A lot of times, anger masks fear. These are all pretty normal things and fairly minor events, but let me tell you, if you're talking about someone who's been sexually assaulted, or who's been at the effect of physical abuse, or who's been intimidated or bullied at school, or who's just come through an earthquake or a mudslide or an avalanche or a flood, or who's just had their house bombed, and we have people all over the world dealing with this every day, these impairments make a lot of sense. There are three I want to focus on. Kohut talked about these in the 1970s. Sackvitny and Perlman talked about them in the 90s, and they're still with us today, and they are our self-capacities, which are also embedded in these social-emotional skills and in emotional intelligence and in positive mental health markers. One is the ability to manage and modulate our feelings. We know that when children experience difficult things early on, and these things continue on, they don't necessarily grow up with good skills for feeling the same things that 90% of the rest of the people might feel at the same experience. We know that they may go from being calm to really furious in just a heartbeat, whereas the people that haven't been through those kinds of experiences or who had better outcomes have a better dimmer switch. They can turn things up and down like a volume knob or a slider. We know that people who have histories of trauma also have a really hard time feeling like they've got a place they belong. Well, how can they? If you grow up in an environment that's highly traumatized, what's there for you? If your mom and dad or your caregivers are so busy trying to tend to other things, you may feel invisible. And if you grow up feeling invisible, you know, some people who feel invisible wear bright purple so they can feel visible. There's all kinds of ways you compensate. And the other one is learning how to feel those connections with other people's. That, in terms of social-emotional learning and in terms of emotional intelligence, is relationship skills. You know, I want you just to look around you for a second. Just pause and look around you. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, so you've had a chance to be self-aware for just a few seconds. You can stop this and do it longer if you want. That's fine with me. But as you look around and as you look at yourself, are you wearing any jewelry that someone else gave you? Do you have on a piece of clothing that was a gift? Can you see things that you were given maybe on your mantle or in your home that others gave you? Hey, look at your cell phone. Do you have pictures on there of people that you hate or people that you love? What about your ringtones? Do you have a special one for people you want to talk to and maybe people you don't? What are the photos on there? Mine are my cat, my garden, and the people I hold near and dear. These are all reflections of the ability to remember strong positive connections with others in their absence, which is the great shorthand that Perlman and Sackvitny came up with in Risking Connection, which is one of Sidran Institute's texts. In terms of social-emotional learning and emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship skills build this in as well. Because if you're unable to remember when you're out there lonesome some evening that other people do in fact love you, and you don't know how to look around for these clues, your life is lonesome. And the difficult things that happen have stronger meaning at that point, stronger negative impact. So these are all just little tidbits about how traumatic experiences impact us in terms of our social abilities, our relational abilities, our abilities to connect to others, our abilities to be everything we can be in ways that are helpful and supportive to others and to us. We find our place in the world through our relationships with others. And if we've learned to do that, and if we've learned to do that by being negative or unhappy or behaving in ways that are difficult for us or other people, that makes it a lot tougher.